So let's get to tonight's feature. Let me set up for it. So yes, our friend got himself arrested. And it's very serious. So this isn't to make fun of him or anything. But I was talking, for anybody that watched my show last week, this is exactly part of what my show, what I was talking about who we are and how the government sees us, what is our standing in society, what's our rank, okay? And how we can raise or lower it. How does the government see us? And, without getting it, this is all real stuff, all right? And understanding the law. And one of the last things I said is that people, they hear something, they interpret it their way. They may like it. It may sound good. It may be, it's not even conspiratorial at all. It's just they hear it and then they hear it's, oh, that's unconstitutional or against my rights or I'm a sovereign citizen. And then what they don't know, they make up for by a sort of a fabrication of a belief, an ideology, or they just don't understand it fully. And so they don't know enough, and they don't know enough to say, I don't know enough, I should zip it. And this is kind of, I think, is what happened to Mater. So what his mistake could have been what I'm going to show you, or he got arrested for a felony charge. We don't know how many. But the officers came to arrest him, and I heard them say it 3 times, felony warrant. And any felony warrant is a problem, and there's no time limit on a felony warrant. So it could have even, it may not have anything to do with what I'm going to suggest tonight, but I'm going to suggest it, I'm going to help narrate, and I'm going to let him speak it in his own words, because he put everything up live. And there's no, there's no anticipation of privacy, there's no copyright. It's him live talking about it. And listen to what he says, and well, I'll ask you guys some questions if you can pick out what the issues are. It doesn't matter if what I'm saying is really what brought the warrant down in the arrest, because there's no time limit on a statute of limitations on a felony warrant. It could have been something he did more recently. It could have been something he did many years ago in another state. We don't know. All right. But I think that once you watch what he does and what he says, and I explain it, you'll start to put 2 and 2 together, and you'll realize what I said last week, a lot of that is exactly where he stepped in it, big time. And this is going to screw up his life. I feel sorry for him. I just want to preface by saying, again, I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a teacher. I can't give any legal advice. I can discuss it with you fellas. I can make suggestions. The only legal advice I can give is if you don't know what the hell you're doing, get a lawyer. Or have somebody review what you're saying. There's no, like I said, there's no anticipation of privacy or anything. It's not to make fun of them. These are very serious. And the reason why I'm doing this tonight is because I just literally talked about and sort of brought up something like this last week. And then I saw this happen at like Monday. And I went, oh my God, right? This is exactly what I mean. This is very, very serious. And people don't realize it. People might be seeing some of this on YouTube, and they see a cop pull somebody over and they start going, I don't have to show you this. I'm a sovereign citizen. And they really don't know what the hell they're saying. And of course they get arrested. Now for a misdemeanor charge, it may not be so bad, but when you're starting off with a felony charge, that's very serious. So let me set this up before I say any more. Again, I'm not a lawyer. This is for educational purposes. It's mostly him speaking. We can talk about it. It's not to badmouth him. It's because this is very serious, and this happens to. I've even seen some people I know. Very similar things happen to them, and that's really unfortunate. And at our age, it's really a big problem, because at our age there isn't enough time left. My brother-in-law fell afoul when he was, I want to say around 18 or something like that. And he wouldn't turn state's evidence. He sold a little bit of coke to a Fed or whatever, or a local cop, whatever it was. I forget. Oh, they were on him until he was 40 years of age. He never got a car. He was never able to buy a house. It's just, it was hard to work. They were on him. If as slightest infraction, you're on probation, so they're up your butt. You don't want to be involved with any of this. So let me just set this up. Give me a second, because it's quite startling. And I just kind of contracted some of this together to save some time, because it's from his live shows, and live shows, a lot of blah 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 blah. So we don't want to spend that much time with this tonight. Let me just cue it up. Let me get ready to. All right, let me put you there. How do I move it? There we go. And can I still do this? Yeah, I can still do that. All right, let's take a look. Desktop audio, I think I got that going.
What? Show me.
Come outside, please.
No.
Turn it down.
You show me the damn warrant. You're live on YouTube.
Turn it down.
Move.
Hold up!
You better get out of here.
He went after the keys!
You better get out of here.
He went after the keys!
Get out of here.
No!
Back off.
I'll
Back.
shoot you. Drop it.
You just came in my house.
Drop it.
No, you just came in my house without a warrant.
He's pointing a gun at me.
Yeah, because you're pointing one at me. You came into my house without a damn warrant. It's live on YouTube right now. You broke the damn door.
He's pointing a gun at me.
Yeah, it's all live on YouTube right now.
Michael, come out here. We're going to call SWAT.
You show me a fucking warrant right now.
Drop the weapon.
Weapons down. You show me a warrant.
Weapon.
Okay, you show me a warrant right now. Don't have a fucking weapon.
Put your hands up. Come outside.
No.
Come outside, Michael.
Warrant.
We can't do this.
Damn the door of the house. Oh.
Don't hurt me. I'm
Out
not
right
trying to
now.
hurt you. You're under arrest. I have a felony warrant.
No.
I have a
No.
felony warrant.
Yeah, like
Okay,
I said,
hold on.
they found me guilty. And
All right, now let me come back. So that's pretty alarming, right? So does anybody know what he did wrong right there to start off with, which made things worse? And you guys have any idea of what he did wrong? We'll see if anybody comes up. I don't see anybody typing. So I don't know if you guys were able to see that and hear it, but that's as good as it gets. Because I guess he was at the end of his Wi-Fi range or whatever. But he did a couple of things wrong. So first of all, the officers showed up and they said they had a felony warrant. While one officer was walking up, getting past the bike, I could hear him say that. And then at the very end, he said it again. I have a felony warrant for your arrest. All right. And then he said, "Don't you hurt me." So this is important, and we're gonna get back to a little bit this again later. But what happened is he resisted arrest. So when the officers come to your door looking to come in, they don't have to show you a warrant. There's nothing that says they have to show it to you right then and there. It may not be expedient or to their benefit to do it because it could be dangerous. You don't want your hands full of a piece of paper. You could also, that could be destroyed by the person you're trying to arrest. And it confuses the issue. And this is a felony warrant. This isn't, would you like to show up? We're having a party tonight, right? This is very serious. So this isn't the first rodeo that these guys have had. They're older fellas, probably around our age. They've done this many times. People tend to freak out. They tend to resist arrest. You need your mind and your hands free to be able to deal with this situation because people don't take kindly to somebody coming up and telling them that you're about to be arrested. So you're not going to pull out a warrant. That warrant will be made available or was made available, usually either in the car, if they have it, because if it's an out-of-state warrant, they may not even have it. It might be at central booking. All of that has to be shown. They do have to show it to the individual being arrested, but they don't have to. Nowhere in this country is that ever thing. I know people say, well, they should have showed it, or he was thinking that they should have. No. again, people don't understand the scenario. These guys want to go home that night, and they do this every day. And they want to go home without being injured. The second thing is, so he misunderstood that. He freaked out. He resisted arrest. So this makes the cops nervous. And then he ran away to the back, and you hear his lady saying something about keys. No, he went and it sounds to me that he went and he got a weapon, and he pointed it at the officer, because that's what you hear the officers say, and he responds to it. So that's another major issue, because they already have a warrant for a felony, and they're arresting you. You resist, and then you point a weapon at an officer, and by doing that, that could be battery, it could be assault. Well, it would be like assault, another assault charge. You're not allowed to pull a weapon on an officer really at any time. That could get you killed. A lot of officers think that you're going to suicide by cop. That's a thing. I remember it being even in my old neighborhood. There were a couple of instances of something like that. So, and then if the officer feels afraid, and I know this is Texas, but, a lot of people have guns in Texas, and they may have already known, because if it's a legal weapon, they would have checked that. So when you go for an arrest, again, this is not a defensive operation. This is an offensive operation. You're going in there and you want to end this and get this person in cuffs as soon as possible. The rest is inconsequential. Breaking the door down, there's actually money usually. You can usually have that repaired at the state expense or whoever's expense. That's not an option to consider, because they need to make sure that everyone gets in that car, in that patrol car, alive and not injured, not severely injured. These are professionals, all right? Regardless of what you might think or whatever, they're professionals. They know what they're doing, and they have to deal with this every day. So you're talking about it potentially, these are additional charges and conditional charges. When the officer said, "Don't you hurt me," all right, that, especially on camera. And remember now, this is on camera. I don't know if it looks like they might have been wearing a camera, the officers themselves, but now this is published. So this is going to be entered into evidence, most likely. And if they say that, "Don't you hurt me," or they have a weapon pointed at them, you're adding potential additional charges on whatever they are. Even if you can knock them down later on, you're adding additional charges. So right off the bat, right, this is very, very, very serious. Now, I did read on his website for this video. I think his girlfriend said that, he's in jail and everybody's okay, but he's in jail. So as far as I know, as of 2 days ago, everybody's healthy but not happy. So that's good. That's a good start. Let me just catch up with you. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, Robert goes, "Holy moly, I haven't watched Made in a long time." And then Robert retracted. Robert says, "He's lucky they didn't shoot him when he pulled a weapon." I know. However, what if they were cop impersonators and busted in his house? That's they pulled up in the correct car. They're wearing the correct stuff. That's not going to be a good excuse. Again, it's pretty rare. That's not the kind of thing that generally happens. You could see their officers, right? Guys wearing a big 10-gallon hat or whatever. What are you going to do? You have to make certain assumptions. You can't use that as a defense. You see the badges. They tell you they have a felony warrant. Nobody's just going to tell you they have a felony warrant, pull up in cop cars with badges and everything and uniforms just so you can break into a house. There's nothing in that house, all right? There's literally, when you see the house, have you ever seen this house? You wouldn't break into it. So let's go forward with this. Let me take you into the next step. So he's going to explain a little bit about why I think he got here. Now, it's kind of important. It's really important. Unless he did something very, very, very serious and very bad somewhere else in his life in another state, I think what he did was he opened up his mouth too much, said all of the wrong things, which relates back to my last week's video, which I highly recommend. The link is in the description here. I highly recommend, because if you start saying this stuff without understanding what you're saying to law enforcement people or even code enforcement people, or literally anybody, and you enter into a verbal contract using this language that I'm going to show you, you could wind up literally having this happen to you. So let's go to the next step. All right, let me back it up a little.
Yeah, like I said, they found me guilty and everything. So I had certain time. I had 30 days to get the fine paid. Well, didn't have the money. Told that to the judge, court and everything. Well, they said, well, come back and we'll see about doing a
Indigent.
thank you. That's the word I was trying to think of.
All right, so just to fill out the field a little bit, he got into some infractions with the town, or I should say city, the city of Ennis. Some local infractions for a vehicle that's his mom's, for a lot of junk around the house that's been sitting for many years, junk out in front. And I guess people complained, and code enforcement showed up. And he has not been cooperative the whole time, and he's been playing this game with them that they're it's going against his constitutional rights, and you'll hear more of it. So this has been going on, I think, since this early spring, and some of this footage is just fairly recent. So this is a local court. This is a little city of Ennis court trying to deal with code infractions and trying to get him to do the right thing and clean it up. And instead of trying to work with them, he's trying to fight them the whole way through. So important word here is that he was found guilty. So this is just a few weeks back. So he's guilty. Okay. So whatever he did in terms of just basic code infractions, he was found guilty. He had met with them several times. They went over it. He tried to resolve some of it, but regardless, they found him guilty, and they'll say some more in a minute. But the word I also want you to hear is the word is not indigent, okay? It's indigent. And the judge asks him, are you indigent? And he replies, yes. That's not good. And he doesn't understand it. So I want you to hold on to that thought, because this goes to what I was talking about last week with standing. What is your standing? What is your rank in society? Where are you? On what level? Are you really, really low? Are you in the middle? Are you up here? Who are you? Do you have any rank at all? Are you just a citizen? Do you own a home? Do you have assets? Do you have a bank account? Do you have any cash money? Do you have any gold? All of this has to do with our standing in society. So when you allow a judge of any kind, any official, and you agree, you verbal contract on something, be careful what you're saying, because you could wind up screwing yourself. Let's come back. So just want to remember those two things. So he's going to describe more of it, and you'll see he digs himself in deeper if you understand what he's saying and what to listen for.
To try and figure a way of getting it, because it's over $8,000 is what they're saying.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And there's, trying to figure a way I can get it paid. Well, right now I'm not working because I've had this stuff going on, and everything. I mean, even if I take in the FMLA with my hand, I'm still got 2 more weeks. I still would have lost the job because I have to have the second surgery. So, anyways, like I said, I'm going to the judge, and of course, I had the camera with me, ready to go. Now, mind you, there are no signs or anything in there saying no audio or video recording allowed. There's nothing in there. Judge comes walking in, they let me go, everybody rise.
So now let me just pause,
stood up,
and I'll get to the text in a minute. So he's focused for some reason on this whole. He seems to be very focused on recording all of this. He's been recording it. He's been shoving cameras in. He's got it up on his YouTube. You can watch a lot of it. He'll go into the administrative office and start recording the ladies behind there and saying stuff about I'm a sorry, I don't know, whatever. You could watch it all. He seems very, very focused on recording it. And so instead of being focused on his situation and who he is and his responsibility here, he's focused on recording and he's making an issue of it. So he's lost sight almost immediately of what his standing is and what's going on here. This whole YouTube, putting it up on YouTube thing, I don't get it, but let's just keep going.
And first thing he says, there will be no audio or video recording in here. I'm going, really? You've never had any problems before, but now you do because of me. Okay. So that's something I need to do an investigation on, whether or not what the judge decided to say that morning without any other notice on the door or anything like that.
What the hell is
And
that?
like
have
I
to do with
told him,
anything?
it's legal, but it's normally not done unless it's like a high profile murder, rape, or a case involving children.
Right.
That is the
Now, here's the funny thing. When I had to go back beforehand, they didn't have a problem. The only thing is that the bailiff said, just be careful, make sure not to record, capture on video any of the people that could be possible for jury. They didn't have a problem with me recording anything else, because I'd already recorded 2 other times.
Yeah.
The judge didn't say anything about no audio or video recording at that time. So it's kind of funny. In fact, I had my camera. It was out in plain sight. And, of course, I was first one go before the judge this morning. And he started talking, and asked me a few questions. He said, how much of that have you paid? I said, nothing. I haven't paid any.
Right. See, so no effort was made at
He
this
said,
point.
well, I know we got you on a payment plan. I said, no, you don't. You only gave me 30 days to pay the whole thing in full.
That's actually not true.
Never gave me any kind of payment plan.
He contradicts himself later.
He starts looking at it, and he starts mumbling, a few other things.
She actually corrected him.
I said, and before we go on, I want to exercise my constitutional right, and I'm going to plead the 6th Amendment.
Yeah. So that's it. So there's the 6th. Now let me come to that in a minute and we catch up. So a couple of things he's done wrong so far. I don't know what the whole thing is with this having to put your whole life on YouTube or whatever, but he did. And he keeps trying to run this camera up into everything, and that's obviously causing him problems. Now, he made no effort for restitution. So it's over $8,000. That is a felony if they should charge him, because it's over $1,000. It's $8,000. They just grabbed two guys in this town right here. 2 guys. They could be illegal aliens. They might very well may be. They were stealing from the clothing boxes and hitting them all. And then they acquired all of this clothing, and then they were trying to sell it. The estimated value, they had acquired so much from their run of stealing everything that it was worth about $200,000. They arrested them on felony warrants. Yeah. So he's playing this game with them. He's not trying to make restitution. He says he doesn't have any money. He's not working. But then again, if you look at his YouTube channels, he's working. He's working on making stuff. He's buying things. He's spending a lot of money. He's showing it on YouTube. You think that they're not looking at that? Because they're constantly shoving a camera in front of their faces. I'm sure they're looking to see what he's recording. So he's not thinking about that. He hasn't made any restitution. He agrees to being indigent. So an indigent is somebody that really kind of has no way of caring for themselves. They're not invalids or anything like that, but he doesn't have any money. He has no resources. There's nothing that the town or the county or the city can look at and put a lien on or try to work with. He hasn't really made an effort. He's just said, I don't know, I'm not paying it, right? And then he really lights the fire underneath them. And he pleads this 6th. So I'm just going to go over it real quick and just to see what's relative here, right? Now, remember, he's talking to a judge. He's been found guilty. He now has lowered his rank and his standing almost to the lowest you could possibly be. He's been found guilty of essentially a local crime. It's an ordinance crime, but if that ordinance crime is evaluated at a fairly high number, you're in trouble. Okay, you have to deal with it. So he's taken whatever he is as seen by society and by the state and by the courts in terms of his rank or his elevation. What is his standing? And he's lowered it to the lower than indigent. And how does a court deal with an indigent individual when they owe, for a local town, a city, it's an appreciable amount of money. It is a considerable offense. And then he says the six. So let's just look at the six real quick. And I'm just going to go over what the most important part is. So he wants the right to a trial, right? And that includes, speedy trial by public impartial jury. Unfortunately, he's already been tried. So he's already been found guilty. So asking for that, right, keep that in mind. That's kind of irrelevant, but he asked for a trial, a speedy trial, an impartial jury, informed of the charges. You must be told what the crime is. He's already had that. The witnesses, they already are part of the town. They're the code people, and maybe his girlfriend. He wants the right to call his witnesses. He wants the right to an attorney. And you're going to see, as we move forward, he just asked for an attorney, and he just asked for a trial, but he's already had one. So it just goes on to court, justice, whatever. Let's continue. You're going to see how this plays out. And think now that you're a judge and you're hearing this.
And as soon as he said that, he said, "Well, have a good day."
Yep. As soon as he heard me say that, that was it. Yeah, it's kind of funny. As soon as I mentioned the Sixth Amendment, he knew he was getting into a can of worms. Decided, okay, we got someone that knows his constitutional rights.
No, you don't.
And it's like, yeah, they've got on it. And I said before leaving, I said, yeah, my constitutional right. It guarantees me right of counsel. So I need an attorney that the city has to pay for.
Okay. Yeah. You're about to meet your attorney. All right. So
this is going to cost money for the city for them to get me an attorney.
No, it's going to cost us, the taxpayers, for this. Okay. It's going to cost a lot. He has no idea what he's asking for right now.
Like, hey, I just tell him, hey, I'm going as fast as I can. It's like, hey, you want this done faster? Give me some help.
Okay, help's on the way. All right. And now let me explain. Help is on the way. So he's already been found guilty in a small local court. They can't give him an attorney or anything like that. The only thing they can do, and why the judge looked at him in that way, he went, oh my God, this idiot doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I have to now give him all these things. What is in the tool set of a small court to provide for him? He's already found guilty, so there's no trial. So asking for a speedy trial means that they have to try you. Well, you've just been found guilty. You owe $8,000. That's a felony. And you want an attorney? You don't get an attorney in a little local court. If you want an attorney, you should have went and hired one. If you want us to give you an attorney, we have to arrest you. And then we have to try you. We have to arraign you. And then you'll be provided with an attorney and you get your call. So that's probably why they sent the officers to his house, because he owed over $8,000, which is a felony. He made no effort, right, to fix the issue or address the issue. He paid nothing. He's been combatant. He's playing around with these cameras. He says he doesn't have any money. He agreed to be indigent. What is the court supposed to do with an indigent person? You send officers, right, to rearrest the person. They don't have any money and no assets, so you can't get restitution from anything he has. He says he has nothing. He agrees he's indigent. So they send the officers over. It's over $8,000. That's a felony. We can then arrest you. We can retry you. You'll get to meet your peers, right? We'll go over this again and we'll provide you an attorney. And by the way, it's a felony, so you don't go to the local hokey pokey. You have to go to state. Okay, you have to go to a real penitentiary because this is a felony charge. If he had a lawyer, get a lawyer. I mean, now he needs a lawyer. So he asked for all of this. And this is the tool set that the government has or the local authorities have. The judge is there not to educate you. The judge is there to adjudicate you or him or us. And so that's what the judge did. That's what I see. And I ran this past a lawyer friend of mine. Now he's not into criminal law or anything, but he does, they know law. And he didn't disagree with me. I said, in my best estimation, this guy, he asked for all these things. The lower court said, I've had enough of this. I can't do any of that. I'm just trying to get restitution for my city. He broke these violations. He was found guilty. He's made no effort. He's been a pain in the ass the other way. The look on the judge's face is, okay, I'm done. I can't do anything else. I'll escalate this to the next level. They'll take care of it. They'll get their restitution in the way they see fit, in the way the law allows. And he can have everything he just asked for under the 6th. So this is unfortunate. But this goes back to what I was saying last week, is that people, they don't know what they're saying. So I wanted to catch some of the things here. Let's see. David made a comment. Let's see. Bravo goes, however, I never did anything to have the police show up at my door for. Yeah, right? Yeah, well, and he'll talk a little bit about fine upstate. He actually says something later on that I found offensive, but I'll let that go. Now, I think David says something here that's impertinent. That's important. David says it doesn't take any money, dollars, to clean stuff up. The neighbors have the right not to live next to that ugliness. That's true. And I told him that. So I'll get to that in a minute. Bravo says, anybody know why they came in to arrest him in the first place? Was it just the property junk? Yes, I'm explaining that, John. So I think you must have got that because I just went over that. And then David says he told the judge he was impoverished and basically had no way to pay restitution. That's right, but they will get their restitution. Okay, it's you don't just get away with crimes. That doesn't happen. You go to jail. You work out something with a judge, which is what he's going to have to do. And it may be probation with an ankle bracelet. Usually for a felony like that, they want you to do community service of some kind. And then there's, you might spend, usually it's a year in jail. Now he's got potential weapon charges on this. So whatever he had, that was the issue. He has a lot more to contend with right now, a lot more. So typically for something like that, it might be a year. They could let you out on your own cognizance, but if you don't have anything, are you a flight risk? How are they going to get you back? Are they going to have to rearrest you? That would have all been determined at his arraignment. I don't know. If he's in jail, she said to a couple of the fellas on that channel, this is 2 days ago that he was in jail. I mean, hopefully he gets out, right? Because it's going to suck in that jail, for sure. But this is what I mean. He asked for this. This is how you get restitution. Now, when this started to happen, I went on his channel. He asked me to come on. I did a live show. And after I told him about what I know and experiences I've personally had, I said, and others, I said, I suggest you throw yourself literally on the mercy of the court. It's not going to work out the way you think it's going to work out. You're going about this the wrong way. You were caught with this. You should comply to some degree. Stop this other nonsense. You're not a lawyer. And again, try to work something out with them because it's just not going to work out the way you think. Now, I was on the show for about 40 minutes or so, and they decided not to save the show after air. All right. It was on air because he didn't like what he was hearing because I wasn't getting. And at one point initially, he said to all of us that some motorcycle group that he knew from YouTube or something, they were all going to come and I'm like, do what? Rev their engines outside the court? They're not going to help you. They never did. Lots of people have suggested he do things, oh, good for you. You fight for your rights. And no, you have to understand your place in society and your place within the rights. This has nothing to do with constitutional rights. First of all, this is code. It should have never come to this. My thinking is unless he did something else worse, because it's a felony charge. This is what he did. He literally asked to be arrested. This is legal speak. What you're talking about isn't words like we speak every day out of the side of our mouth. Legal speak inside of a courtroom is very, very different. And I talked a little bit about that last week. You can't just say whatever you want. You're not a lawyer. And even then, you have to speak appropriately to a judge. You have to know what you're saying, and you have to think past what you're saying is, what are the consequences of what I'm saying? If I say this, then what happens? Right? And because it can be perceived in a different way. And as a lay person inside of their world, he doesn't know what he's doing. Most of us don't. So they're not your friends. They're not going to help you out or look the other way. And I said to him, I had a neighbor a bunch of years back. They threw out a couch on their middle of their front lawn. And it was there for months. I put a sign on it that said, "Throw me out." All they had to do was move it a little further and hit the curb, and the garbage people would have taken it. Well, at some point, I called the town on it. We don't have to look at this crap. And I told them that. I said, I would call the town on you. You're horrible. You left a chair out front. You threw out a dining room set. They took everything but that broken chair. And he'll tell you, somebody took it from the street, and there was one chair left. So you left it probably right where that garbage can is. You left it out in front of your house with all of the other junk, not taking care of your property, not cutting your lawn, the scrap and the tree limbs and all this, for 3 years. 3 years. Well, I was injured. You mean your lady friend couldn't have picked the damn thing up and walked it a couple of more feet to the curb? He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit about his neighbors. And I said to him, I wouldn't want to live next to you. I mean, if that's what you're doing, that's horrible. If you have a house and you live in a community, there is a contract you make, right, with society. It's called the social contract. It's part of the contract you make with the town. If you don't like the town and the city you're in, like over here, we have a mayor and trustees. It's an incorporated village. If you don't like those rules, leave. Okay? You could try to change them, but if you have no money and no time, good luck changing them. But you can't just say F it because they're going to cut your lawn and charge your taxes or fine you, and the fines go up quick, right? So he's, whoa, this is good. So Seth goes, true, you'll pay somehow. Yeah. So Bravo goes, geez, I'm glad he doesn't live in mine. That's what I said to him. I said, no offense. I mean, he's my friend. I like him. But I'm like, bro, you can't do that. That's not right. And now you're going to make the taxpayers pay for you? Well, you what? Buy stuff and put stuff up on your channel and do your thing in your garage? I mean, that's all well and good, but why do I have to pay for you for everything else? Right? And yet he claims to be a conservative. So it doesn't matter what your ideology is. And that was the other point they made last week. This fighting we see going on, a lot of it is because people are upset. I get it. Pressure. They feel they're entitled. That's entitlement. On either side, they feel they're entitled. They feel they're being oppressed by a government. Okay, I get it. He feels the same way, but from a different angle. But they're misunderstanding their role in society and really who benefits from all of this and who doesn't. And I would say just leave out the corruption thing. Leave out the corruption of your government and all that. This is basic local law. It has to do with your contract to your neighbors, to the society, immediate society you're living in, right? I mean, it doesn't get any more basic than that. And from what she describes in a minute, she says it's basically like an HOA. That whole section of the city is like an HOA, which are the worst. And he doesn't know that. Well, this is his parents' house. They've had it since the beginning, and he doesn't know where he lives. Let's go a little bit further in. Wait. Before I leave. So David says, I'm sure they gave him multiple chances to clean things up, which he actually did. He tried. It would have cost him nothing, and he got an added to it. Yes, that's really the problem. Is he was on them with the camera and being hostile, and you could see it in his voice and his tension. He's a smart ass. They're picking up on this, and you'll see it in a minute. Yeah. Once they start, and this happened to me with my Nova when I was building it. I put down a nice pad in my backyard. I moved the car around. I took the car apart, the whole Nova. Took the engine out and everything. My neighbor, in that area, the fence is close, but it was over 6 feet tall. My neighbor, lovely man. I loved the man to death. And when I was a little kid, he was crippled. When I was a little kid, he actually was a lawyer for the county seat, and he would lay on his knees and on his belly and garden, and I would follow him around as much as I could and talk to him. Wonderful man. He taught me a lot. But his wife was a bit of a drunk, unfortunately, and she got scared. She saw sparks coming over, and, she has an in with the town, and she got upset, and she called the town on me. And they told me, you have to get this car out of here, or we're taking it out of here, and we're finding you. The whole car was apart. I had to stop what I was doing, figure out how to finish some of it, put it together enough to move it over into the driveway. They told me this is the only place you can have a car that's not registered and not inspected and not insured. And you'll hear a little bit about this car that belongs to his mom, similar scenario. And he had it in the wrong spot, and he's arguing with them that it can run. It ran last time. That's like when we sell stuff, right? Ran when parked, right? When's the last time this lawnmower ran? It doesn't look good at all. Oh, it ran great last year. That lawnmower ran. My tractor ran really good. Then why are you here? Well, it doesn't run. Oh, I took care of it. Really? You took care of it? It doesn't look like you took care of it. All right, let's get to the next part.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen.
Right. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I wish I could have recorded that. I mean, I wasn't even up before the judge 5 minutes. Got called within 5 minutes. We're already walking out the door. It was like he did not want to say, okay, yeah. But okay, so it seems that he realizes that they don't realize who they're dealing with. So, like I said, that.
Oh yes, they do.
I wish I could have got, that on camera and everything. Just the look on his face when I said that, and it's like he was basically like, "Oh crap!" I mean, like I said, that definitely would have been worth, that one picture would have been definitely worth it.
Yeah. Was it worth $8,000 in jail time?
I'm saying, at that moment, he knew he screwed up. I think that's one thing the city is going to find out is
who screwed up.
Their control is not what it needs to be. And the way I look at it is the city is basically just wanting to get all the, as they say, the riffraff out, where, you've got the upstanding, citizens that make X amount of money. That's all they want in the city. They're going to try and find a way to get rid of the, I guess you could say, the low life or low income.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a problem with that. I have low income, right? I used to make good money. Now I'm effing broke. So, I mean, is there a plot coming out of the World Economic Forum that basically says you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, and they want to make 15-minute cities and get us out of the rural areas and the suburbs? They don't want any of that anymore, and they want to... Yeah, because when a home like this is worth more than $500,000, my daughter can't buy it. So, yeah, I get all of that, right? But that's... Everything he's saying here is just making me angry at this point. I'm sure it made everybody at the town angry. And this is where you push blame. Everything is push blame, never taking responsibility for anything he's done or what he says he's responsible for. Just pushing it off, make the state pay or the taxpayers pay. The judge is an idiot or whatever he thinks he is, If he had just taken some little bit of care and responsibility, my contention is he wouldn't be in this stuff. But it's all of this nonsense.
Yeah.
They're just going to try and find a way to, get rid of people,
Yeah.
get them out of the city.
No, not really.
And they are going to do it legally.
Not really, because then they'd have no city.
Like I said, they want to do it legally. Well, that's fine. Let's do it the legal way.
Yeah. And then they have nobody in the
Let's do it by
city.
what the Constitution of the United States wrote.
Oh, God. This is where I got to shut up.
And it's giving me my constitutional rights. It's true, Robert. And like I said,
And what the hell does that have to do with
They
the
have
crap
to pay
you
for
leaving
it, so
out
it's gonna
front for your
cost them.
neighbors to deal with?
money. And no telling, how much it's going to cost them. And I'm going to make sure that once I get one, I'm going to make sure I get my full money's worth out. Plain and simple. Because like I said, I brought that one thing up before the code, the code enforcement supervisor. I read up on there as far as, a inoperable vehicle. As far as everything that had, was wrong and everything. As far as, here's what you need to do to correct it. Very first thing is, show them that it can move under its own power. Boom, I've already done that. I've got the video, it's up here on the channel. Yeah, that car can move under its own power.
No, it didn't when he was
It'll
issued the
start up,
summons.
run.
He had to fix it, and it took weeks.
Not a problem. But it's also kind of funny is that,
not
like
funny.
I say, what was it? Just a few days after we had that meeting with him, that all of a sudden we got, Wendy, the court administrator. Oh, well, the judge decided that, he wants to have a meeting with you. But it's kind of funny, a few days before all that. Oh, no, you've only got X amount of days to get this thing paid.
Yeah, and we found out today he had another extension from until August 8th.
Yeah.
Which we were not notified of. And I called on that. I called to find out what was going on. I said,
Here you go.
well, we have a problem with the mail system because from December on out, we've only gotten one piece of mail from the city of Ennis that does not concern the water bill. And she pulled it up on the computer while I was on the phone with her.
They hit me up with, what was it, 5 or 6 different violations.
5 on the car.
Yeah, like 5 on the car. And that's something else because one of those citations I wound up getting, remember, that was for that chair that was out front that I took care of. Because they said, it's on the video, I got it reduced down. Because they didn't like the chair was sitting outside. Unattended.
Which had been there for 3 years.
Yeah. Chair had been there, for that damn long. They decided finally, I had to go back before the judge today. And I flat out told him, we were talking and everything. I said, before we go any further, I'm going to use my constitutional right and I'm going to plead the 6th Amendment.
Come back. So, let me just read the 2 things, and I'm going to, when I hit you with what I'm going to hit you at the end, you're going to be like, oh my God, no. So, let's see. So Johnny says, he goes, I have a friend or an acquaintance like that. He's always working the system, denying responsibility, and it's always everybody else's fault. And then he says, Bravo says, and he always thinks everybody is out to get the best of him, right? David says, David Morris says, well, they can put a lien on his property so the taxpayer get fully reimbursed for any money spent on his behalf. And Bravo says, Arch, does he have any children? I don't think he does. Looks like he may lose his property and scoot him out of any potential inheritance. We're going to get to that in a minute. Let's let him speak a little bit more. It's almost over. So where do you hear this?
Well, Ennis is called a home rule city. So it is a legal HOA.
Yeah. He already admitted, Ennis was basically an HOA.
Yeah, the entire town. Look up your city, wherever it is, and see if it is what is called a home rule city. If it is, then the entire city is an HOA.
My mom's car was her own insurance. It title was in her name. Everything was in her name. Crystal and I discussed, it's like, why should we keep paying for the insurance on her car if it's not being driven?
Yeah.
So we just let the insurance lapse on it, let the tags and everything lapse. And then, of course, I, wound up having the health issues, lost that job, lost the truck, lost the trike. Both those got repoed.
There's another spot where he mentions something about the home. Okay, he talks about the home there. If you heard what he said, so the home, his mom is still there. I guess his father had passed long ago. They bought the house. The mother and the father bought the house a long, long time ago. It was listed as a homestead. Maynard doesn't seem to know where he lives, I guess, or that this city is an HOA. And so here's the real kicker. This is the real shot. And to answer the last couple of questions. The car wasn't his. It is not his. It belongs to his mother. The house is not his. It belongs to his mother. He opened up his mouth, right? Again, this is the ego or whatever else, or not understanding the law. None of this was he responsible for. None of it. The junk, everything. He was not directly responsible for it. He claimed, and again, this is about what I said last week, when you enter into a verbal contract, especially with officials, if they ask you whose car that is, and it's on a property, you could be on that property. You could be a renter. You could be indigent and on that property with permission. And if you say, it's my mom's car, it's titled in her name, it's not your car. You're not responsible for it. And if it's on the property of your parents and you don't have your name on the title or on a mortgage anywhere, and you're just renting, you're indigent, you don't have any money, you don't work much, you're not healthy, it's not your house. But I remember him saying at one point, well, I have power of attorney or whatever. So he entered into an agreement with these people and took responsibility to speak on behalf. But he didn't just speak on behalf. He spoke as the person taking responsibility, engaging in that contract. It's legal and binding. It's a verbal contracts. A handshake and a hello is still a thing. And I went on, I kind of talked about this. It's why I put this up, is because a lot of what I said last week, it will go over most people's heads. I get it. Because it exists in this legal world of fiction, where I talked about what a person is, what we are with the birth certificate, the straw man, right? We're straw man. It's legal fiction, but they will arrest you and charge you for that legal fiction. And he doesn't understand that. So none of this had happened. He just said, all he had to say was, I don't know what to tell you. It's not my car. And my mom is old and she can't drive it anymore. You're right. It sat there. I had used it when she had it insured, but it doesn't work anymore. And that's not my house. Not my house. The junk that's here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've tried to clean it up, but I don't know why she doesn't call anybody to have it cleaned up. Yes, I service the machines of the people that service houses like that, right? They come and they clean everything up. That's what my guys do for a living, and I fix their machines, which I got to show you one if it's not too late. I got another one. You got a nice John Deere. He wasn't responsible for any of it. If he just shut his mouth and not thought he knew and gloating, and he got over on them, and the taxpayers are, oh my God, what a mess. So I'm watching this and I'm going, oh my God, bro, do you need a bigger shovel? You don't keep digging the hole deeper to thinking if you keep digging, you're going to get out of it. What, are you going to go to China? I mean, I don't know. He's screwed. And of course, lastly is that getting arrested, being put in a penitentiary, having to go through all of this. He's not well. He doesn't have anything. He really doesn't. So they can't, that's why they went after him, because he said, I don't have any of this stuff. But he made sure they held him responsible. He did that. So what are you supposed to do with somebody like that? You arrest him. And then you have to try to figure out, you can give him, he asked for a lawyer and all this other stuff. You give him that because that's in your tool set. He asked for that. And then he has to pay his dues, and that's going to be paid in his hide and time because he doesn't have anything. He might be able to sell that motorcycle, but they don't really want that. They need something, like David said, put a lien on the home or something. That could be done if his mother agrees to it, but she has to be in sound mind, and the contracts have to be drawn up and provided, and all of that has to be done. I don't know. That's all restitution. He has to make restitution for this. And I don't think he'll ever understand what he did. He'll do it again, sadly. Unfortunately, at the age of 60, I'm like going to be 62. And if you don't have a lot, I have assets and things and credit. He now has no standing. He'll never be able to get a job. Okay. He's trying to apply to Social Security benefits for disability. But I tried years ago and I was dying and I couldn't do anything, right? He obviously is working and has something because he's working and showing it on YouTube. He's making things, showing it on YouTube, and buying stuff. I don't know where that money comes from. Maybe it's all on credit cards. Like he said, he had another job and he lost the job and lost everything. Maybe it's all bought on time. So if he doesn't have any resources or anything of an investment or anything like that, then he is indigent and they're going to take it out in his hide because he couldn't keep it closed, is really what I'm saying. And this goes back to what I was saying last week, is that if you don't know what your standing is in society, what the social contract, what these words mean, when you agree, when you enter into an agreement with especially people in authority, those people are, he probably gave that code officer a hard time. That code officer has a higher standing than he does. In terms of rank, in terms of standing, however you want to look. If you don't understand what I mean by that, you go back and watch some of that video or go do, pull on these threads and you'll find out. But if you're disrespecting that individual is over you, because I don't know what you've achieved in your life, but if you've lost it, and now he's even lower because now he's a felon. So he's indigent and a felon. Nobody's going to hire him. He's not going to be able to get credit. He's not going to get loans. And as my friend, the lawyer, had said, he's done. He screwed the pooch, especially at this age, because it's hard enough at this age. My neighbor is my age, and he didn't do anything wrong. He just never retrained himself. He got sick. COVID happened. He kept getting fired from jobs. The IRS laid him off. He doesn't have any skills and he's not really well and he can't find a job because he's 60. Yeah, ageism is a thing, but he has credit and he has other stuff. He's married. He has a home, his cars, in his name or in his wife's name as well, right, as a marriage. It's still hard. His standing is much higher than Mater, and I'm not saying that to beat up Mater. This is the reality of living in this world, and you could say it's unfair, my constitutional rights. The reality hits you in the face hard. So that's that. All right, let's talk about something else. It's sad. I feel bad for him. I pray for him. Life is going to get very hard, and none of this had to happen, which is the part that really kicks me in my ass. Like none of this had to happen. Even if he's a slob, which he is, he's a slob. My friend Liz is a slob. I called her a slob recently. My neighbor's a slob sometimes. He's like really neat with certain things. Don't ever go in his beauty. He had like a nice 2-car garage. It breaks my heart. You got to see what it looks like now. Oh my God. They made fun of me one day, this couple, because they saw my setup and everything, and they said that I'm over the top, right? Meanwhile, Mater's working on a dirt floor. I said, Mater, what's all those cans that you're stepping on, those empty soda cans and everything? Oh, I haven't had a chance to throw them out yet. And then somebody else is giving him a hard time. He's got a gigantic bucket full of cigarette butts, packed solid. I'm like, Mater, don't you know that that's a fire hazard? And he'll cut all this wood and shove it in the corner. He got a dust tool, like a dust vacuum, but all of the cuttings and everything are all thrown in the corner. And he has to put up that blue tarp. I'm like, Mater, you could throw that stuff out, right? No. No. So this is where our behavior and stuff, we don't give it any consideration. It doesn't mean anything until all of a sudden it does. That sucks. So that's that. What time are we at? Let's see. We're doing good. An hour and 31 minutes. Or it's lawnmower garden. Oh, doesn't have any. Yeah. Or is it lawnmower garden? Yeah. Somebody asked me about that. I'm like, yeah, I know. I got to try to clean it up. Let's see. What does Mike say? Big Mike. Yep. I got to try to clean up some more. But it's in the back next to the cemetery, and there's nobody lives back there, and nobody can really see it, and I keep it relatively neat. And then everything else I try to keep as neat as I can afford. He goes, your neighbor tried to make a she shed. Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah, it became the family and friends shed. Is what his garage. What am I talking about? The little his father-in-law, his mother-in-law live in a little cottage back there, and that fell down. That was a disaster. Right? They let it go because he got sick, and so they fixed that up as best it could be. And they're like 90s in their 90s or something. He's out there all the time. He cuts the lawn. My neighbor won't cut the lawn. He'll let his 90-something-year-old father-in-law with cancer and everything else cut the lawn, right? Because that guy is neat. He's a neat old dude, and he keeps things nice. If you don't have a lot, I think it was my friend Steve, right? His grandmother, Yiddish, right? You know, from the old days, you know, back in the war and everything, you know what they went through. She said one day, I love to listen to the old people. I miss them now, you know. She said, poor people can't afford to buy junk. Think about that, right? Because, yeah, my parents, they bought a really nice couch. Do you know how long it took to save up for that couch and the dining room table and whatever? You look around, the house was kept very neat. My mom kept everything very neat, which wasn't all that hard because there wasn't a lot to dust and to clean up. And I remember her teaching me how to put out the silverware. Now, I still suck at it. I don't know. I just rejected learning it. But she actually did teach me how to set a table properly for guests or Sunday dinner or something like that, or for something important. And of course, you know, like I'm an idiot, so I would reject it. But yeah, it's real. That was the real silverware, and it only came out for a certain, because that's what they had. That's all they had. They didn't. It took them years and years and years and years. And then I remember my father bought a few too many cars, and our neighbor, right, another Jewish fellow that had started his own business for HVAC. I was told this, and he came over because they were friends, and he said, Walter, you shouldn't be buying this many cars. You really don't make enough money to do this. You need to save your money. They were honest with each other, right? You should be saving your money more for a rainy day. And you know what? He was right, because at some point, years later, after Nixon took us off the gold standard and the economy went boing and super inflation, you know, yeah, my father started to feel the hurting, and he didn't buy as many cars, and turning off lights became a thing. Turn off that light. What do you think? I'm made of money? I can't afford this. Yeah, and then they tried to put up a nuclear power plant, started it up, and realized, no, we can't have that. We're still paying for that stupid thing. Money, they said, money too cheap to, electricity too cheap to meter. Lying bastards. And they had to start it, so now you can't even make a gas plant out of it. And we live on an island, right? I mean, when we went through, that's why I grabbed the generator, because when we went through Hurricane Sandy, we have a cross sound cable that goes up to Connecticut for power. They wouldn't let us turn it on because it might hurt the fishes. Well, why did you charge us a fortune to build it? Now you won't let us use it when we need it. You have to be prepared for shit. But the older folks, like, they were more honest with each other. They wouldn't let you, like, treat your house like shit. I remember the gangs had tons of kids, right? They kept the house relatively neat until they opened up the garage door and all the kids' shit would pile out on the lawn. But, you know, he had a dirt driveway. We had a semi-dirt driveway, and then my neighbor across the street had a little bit more money. He had a concrete, and then I think eventually it was a tar driveway, right? So that was some of the differences between, like, how much money you had, what you ate, what the kids were all dressed, but if it went from like a white T-shirt to maybe a nicer colored T-shirt or something like football jersey or whatever, and if your driveway was paved, you had money. I still don't have my driveway paved, although it's huge, but, you know, because they tax you on it, right? So it's not just the cost of the driveway, but everybody had to like pitch in and keep things nice and watch each other's kids. And it was none of this, I'm going to leave junk out for my neighbors. You couldn't do that. They wouldn't put up with that shit. And they wouldn't have had to call the town either. They'd come over and give you a hard time. Yep. Yeah, when I got older, my friend Arthur was always up late. He didn't want to wake up. So his father, when I made the apartment for my future wife, my future ex-wife, Sunday morning or whatever, Saturday morning, I'm trying to stupa. And then all of a sudden you hear Arthur's father banging on the door. He would come in, too, if I didn't lock it. That was another thing. We never used to lock doors. He'd come in. John, you in there? You in there? I need you to help me get the lawnmower started. Well, where's Arthur, Mr. P? Oh, he's not up yet. All right, I'll be right there. Let me put my pants on. Yeah. Mr. Taub would walk in. Okay, they would just be there all of a sudden. You know, totally different world where you actually knew and had relationships with everybody. You know, and generally, even if you didn't like them all the time, you learned to get along. Okay, and you helped each other out. You know, when something broke or whatever, somebody was there, or you had a contract and they'd give you a discount price. You know, they helped you out. You know, oh, there's Mitch. Yeah. Oh, Bleach is live. All right, good. All right, so I'm getting out of here. It's an hour and 38 minutes. That's good enough, fellas. Tomorrow, I got some stuff to do. Hopefully the storm rolls through and rolls back out. I was going to show you guys some other stuff, but we'll get that to another night because we'll be at like 2 hours or whatever. And I like to try to keep this stuff around an hour and a half. I'm thinking about like I record the live shows, so I'm thinking about instead of trying to edit them, which takes days, and then I forget to do it, I might just in the future is at the end of the live show, shut it off and not have it go up to YouTube, and then go look at my file and go through the file and then weed out whatever I don't want and then post it up, you know, upload it, because I could upload a lot faster now. Or not, or, you know, because we just hang out. So usually people come back like a day later and watch some of it. So if it's more like a presentation or something, but let me get out of here. Let's all just say a little prayer for him, because it's going to be tough. And it's also tough on his mom. It's going to be tough on his lady. And it's unfortunate. So you don't want to get sucked into their world, right? Unless you're working with them. Like if you have a job working for them or you're the lawyer or something. Just stay out of their way. And you know, it's funny because when the officers have pulled me over in the past, I've done things that I probably should have been hauled in for. But I'm always nice to them. And I go through the general routine, too. I get pulled over. One cop said to me not that long ago, he says, "What are you, an idiot?" I said, "Yeah, I am." Because he asked me, "Why did you make that left-hand turn? I'm right behind you. The sign right up above you says no left-hand turns. I see you live in the area because I can see your license plate. And you made the left-hand turn." I went, "Oh, I don't look for signs and stuff like that. I live around here." He goes, "Oh, jeez." Yeah. So when they pull me over, like I turn the car off, I put the keys on the dash, I keep my seatbelt on, I put my hands on the steering wheel. The officer asks for the usual thing. I have the window rolled down, and I just say, "Officer, this is over here. The other thing is in my left back pocket. I'd like to motion to remove my seatbelt, take my hands off the steering wheel. I want to go over to my left pocket to get my wallet. I'm going to go over to the console to get my insurance card. You know, if that's okay with you." He says yes. I mean, I had one guy. I was driving away from one of my hot rods. I had no idea he was behind me. When I finally pulled over, he came out with his gun. Because in his mind, he was in a hot pursuit. This goes to perception. I had no effing clue he was back there. Right? He didn't. Finally, I stopped because I'm like, all right, I'm done. I've had enough, right? Let's shut it down. Yellow light. I'm not going to keep going. It's on like Cross Bay Boulevard in Queens. He came out, big Italian guy, with his gun. And I think eventually he gave me I'm such an idiot. He gave me a ticket for failure to make a left-hand turn. And I looked at him, I don't think I ever made a left-hand turn. He goes, "Really?" He goes, "Would you like me to give you the actual?" I'm not saying no more, right? You know, because I'm big Michael Taya. I'm a little slow sometimes. I'll see you guys later.